You know, ladies and gentlemen, it's said that love is a house, but it ain't got no occupants, so it can't be a real house. The force MDs, ladies and gentlemen, some of y'all may not remember the force MDs, but I remember the force MDs, and so they're going to be in my background with love is a house. Ladies and gentlemen, out of all the GPTs I've created, the presumption killer and the video showing you the presumption killer prompt is probably the best thing that I've done. Why? Because it doesn't matter what the GPT does. You cannot stop the presumption killer. Why? Because there's a presumption that doing law is giving legal advice. It's not. You're not asking for legal advice, but it's a practice of law. That violates their policies. No, it doesn't. All you're doing is rebutting presumptions, and so you rebut that presumption automatically with the prompt without putting anything else in. I want you to pay attention. I'm helping somebody with an appeal. Watch what I do. Hey, Force MDs, you guys, you're bringing back too many memories, and you're gonna have me singing this song, and I'll be playing Tears before this is over. You know, Tears. If y'all don't know Tears, y'all need to look up the Force MDs Tears, one of the greatest songs they've ever made. Give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Wake up. Did you know? Did you know? Did 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 you know, ladies and gentlemen, it only does this when I'm doing a video or doing a meeting. When I'm doing it by myself, it don't do this stupid stuff. That an individual has the right to petition the court? Question mark. And that if they petition the court, comma, they can use large language model systems to create their petitions, comma, so long as they review the petition for any errors. Period. Previously, the courts would say that sui juris litigants petitions were gobbledygook, comma, nonsensical, comma, frivolous, comma, meritless, comma, and so use of large language models cures, backspace, any ambiguity and helps to create documents that are more akin and in line with properly structured petitions that meet the criteria of the court. Comma, can you explain this? Stop listening, ladies and gentlemen. My emotions. To myself, to myself. But tears falling. Ladies and gentlemen, tears by the Force MDs. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, he says, you're right. Because the right to petition the court is a fundamental right. It's constitutionally protected. The facts and conclusions of law supporting the right to petition. See, he already knows that he's supposed to give me facts and conclusions of law. Hold on now. See, you guys don't understand. Once I did the presumption killer, the GPTs have a memory. So they can't just communicate with me however they choose. Now, use of large language models in assisting in creating petitions. Individual petitioners have the right to use any lawful tool, including advanced technologies such as language models. Okay, wake up. I need you to incorporate that into the following: colon, stop listening. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, you saw me. I didn't say nothing about rebutting a presumption, but right here he already knows rebuttal to any presumption to the contrary. Any presumption that an individual cannot use advanced technology to assist in preparing court filings is rebutted by the absence of any law, rule, or constitutional provisions that prohibit such use. The courts routinely adopt document preparing using word processors software because I've already brought that argument before to the GPT. So it knows that the courts use AI technology. So they can't say you can't use it. Ta da! And now we put this because I'm having him do a petition for someone. And so now he's going to start and he's going to do the petition and he's going to incorporate that. Why? Because this is an addendum where I'm challenging their stupidity, or whereas the client is challenging their stupidity. Do you want me to incorporate the early addendum content I created about monetary withdrawal, referral, and due process, and Article 3 jury trial into the document? Wait for you to provide additional content. Watch this. Falling in like the red tears. Okay, that will be that. Now he'll create the document. They stupid up to a point because they think they know how to think, but they don't think. These models don't think. They claim they're thinking. They're not thinking. Ta-da! And ladies and gentlemen, he creates the document. Why? Because the Supreme Court gave itself the authority. The Supreme Court doesn't give itself authority. They say that they're the only ones who can interpret the law. No, the law says that congressional intent is interpretation. Then they say you don't have the right to an appeal, you have a right to review. Uh-uh. You don't have a right to review, you have a right to redress. The right to redress means to correct the wrongs. That's appealing to a superior body to correct the wrongs of a junior. And he creates the petition for me. All I have to do is review it, make sure it says exactly what I want it to say. Ladies and gentlemen, it's taken me, I've been up since about 3:30. I started working on this right about 3:50. That was 30 minutes ago. There's no reason for me to be stressing. Now, I have been stressing about the appeal because this appeal is, man, very detailed. Because all it does is rebut presumptions. Now, when I said that the best thing that I've done so far is create the presumption rebuttal, let me turn, because I am listening to the Force MDs, so let me pause them for now, ladies and gentlemen, so I can explain to you why that statement is the true statement. Ladies and gentlemen, I created the presumption killer because at the age of 16, I learned about presumption of law because that's when I really started digging in. because I said I wasn't going to let them do that to me. I saw all of the people who were in court, in traffic court. Now, you must understand, when I won my first case, my very first case, at the age of 15 and a half, because as 15-year-olds, we count halves and quarters and three quarters and so forth because we stupid. But at the age of 15, I win my first case and I go outside to put all my paperwork together because I got paperwork. And as a Jehovah's Witness, I also had a briefcase, so I put all of my paperwork in my briefcase. See, this was back when we carried briefcase all the time. You know what I mean? Y'all remember them Jehovah's Witnesses walking around with their briefcase? Well, I had my briefcase, and all of my paperwork was in my briefcase. And so I'm out there putting my paperwork back together just before I leave the court because, they say, no, wait, and we'll get the paperwork to you. And so I'm putting my paperwork together, and everybody's coming over to me asking me questions because they heard me talk to the judge. And so, including, pay attention, all of the adults are asking me and they're going back in and saying what I'm saying and they're coming out talking about, man, that worked. Okay, no problem. And I would go back to the court and I would listen to the other cases. I would leave school because at the age of 15, pay attention because nobody pays attention to this. I am just now at the end of that year. Remember, I'm 15. At the end of that year, I'm in the 10th grade. I'm in high school. Ladies and gentlemen, I I don't have to go to all of my classes like the rest of you. I left school at lunch. I only have 4 classes because I went to summer school to get the extra credits. No, I just went to summer school to have something to do during the summer because the summer was boring. So I just went to summer school just to be going, and I got the grades and got the A's and B's and went to summer school and got the extra credits. Wasn't my intent, but those extra credits left me with only having 4 mandatory classes, and one of them was an elective. And so I went to work at lunch. Once the days that I didn't work, I went to the court and I sat there and I listened and I listened and I took notes and I listened, and people would come talk to me and they would go back in there and ta-da! And the lawyers would watch everybody coming and talking to this 15-year-old, and they would come stand around to hear what I was telling people. They wouldn't comment. They would not comment. They would just listen to me talking to those adults. So in my research, I learned about this thing called presumption of law. And like I said, I thought it was the dumbest thing in the world. And I left presumption of law. And I went and did all the regular things that everybody else do, arguing the stupid stuff. And then back in the 90s, I went back to presumption of law. And then I left presumption of law and went back to arguing the same stupid stuff that everybody else argues. And then in the 2000s, early 2000s, I went back to presumption of law. And then I left presumption of law and went back to arguing all the stupid things that everybody else argues. And here in the 2020s, I'm back on presumptions. And I'm not going back to arguing all the stupid things that everybody else always argues. Go back and listen to the documents, listen to the videos, and you see that nobody else is talking about what I'm talking about. I'm going after their stupid presumptions because they are courts of presumptions. They're not courts of law. But people are going, hey, you're supposed to be a court of law. Stop saying you're supposed to be and start rebutting the stupid presumption. That's why it's called a presumption killer. Ladies and gentlemen, he just kills their presumption, and that makes me have a superior standing. Okay, now he does that jury trial thing. It's not a jury trial. Jury trial is a privilege. A trial by jury is a right. It doesn't matter whether the courts agree with you or not. Stick to the law. Keep challenging their stupid jurisdiction. In rem, in personam, subject matter. You have to challenge jurisdiction specifically. In rem, in personam, subject matter. Now, hold on now. If you want to challenge it generally, say I challenge all aspects of jurisdiction, as is my right. Now prove it. That's all you have to do. You don't have to prove it. They have to prove it. Once you challenge it, pay attention. The onus is up on them to prove it. Now, how do we do a superior position? We put the act of Congress, Does the public law. I could care less about a public stupid law, and he does the statutes at large. Ladies and gentlemen, this makes this statement superior. Order the mandatory withdrawal. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you guys. When you're in bankruptcy, you do a petition to withdraw the referral. I did the video with the 20 petition packet. In there is the withdrawal referral. Do you know that it is mandatory? Mandatory that when you put in a petition to withdraw the referral, that the bankruptcy court loses all jurisdiction? Go back and read what Congress wrote. It says the district court shall remove the matter to the district court. And when you do that, you get a right to a trial by jury. Whew, they can't summarily dismiss it at that point because you've just said, I want a jury to decide this. It's not up to the judge anymore. But hold on. Who's ever told you that before? Who's ever told you you have a right to withdraw the referral? And when you do the withdrawal of the referral, it's mandatory. The court has no jurisdiction. Go look it up. Those of you who are fighting bankruptcy, oh, they got you guys fighting the wrong junk. When you withdraw the referral, the bankruptcy court loses jurisdiction but they still rule against me. And that's why you bring it up on appeal. Look, the reason why they keep doing it is because not enough of you know this. Not enough of you know this. So it's my job to help you understand it. It's the presumption killer's job to help you understand it. All you got to do is use the presumption killer in ChatGPT. I've already taken this to ChatGPT, and it produced most of this to begin with. All right, hey, I got to let y'all go. But before I let y'all go, hey, Force MDs. What they say. Did you hear that TikTok? Oh, the one that I love has gone away. It gets harder, ladies and gentlemen, harder to face another day because he's got tears. I mean, cheers. All right. Have a good day.